Good morning, good afternoon, or maybe even good evening, depending on where you are joining us from. My name is Maya Walker, and I am the Director of Admission at Agnes Scott College. It's always a pleasure to see familiar names on the registration list, but for those of you that I have yet to meet, I hope to engage with you in the near future. If we saw you at NACAC last week, it was wonderful to connect with you there, and thank you for coming by our table at the Counselor's Fair on Friday. We are so excited that you all are joining us to learn more about Agnes Scott. Today, you will hear about our academic and social culture, our summit experience, and how we support our students through the admissions process. I feel like once you hit the director level in our industry, you're not often asked your why. And maybe because it's evident in the fact that you've stayed in this industry so long to become a director. But I do want to make sure I share that this work is full circle work, and leading at Agnes Scott has truly been a full circle experience for me. As a women's college graduate myself, I can tell you, like many women's college graduates will tell you, there's something so unique and special about the communities that we create. I hope that you leave us today with a deeper understanding of our value in liberal arts learning, our passion for creating and inspiring future leaders and change makers, and our overall Scotty spirit. Of course, we hope that you will encourage your students to consider Agnes Scott in the application process. But more importantly, we hope that you're able to take so much from this webinar that will enlighten you on the options that women's colleges have and continue to offer for decades and many more decades to come. Women's college communities encourage thinking outward and feeling inward. Our graduates are global and national leaders in education, business, politics, and the list goes on. Where we lead, others follow. So we thank you for the Scotties you have sent our way and for the future Scotties you have in mind for us. And we are excited to work with you and introducing your students to all that Agnes Scott can offer them. Two members of our admission team will join me shortly to walk through all things Agnes. We have collected your pre-submitted questions and should touch on most of them throughout the webinar. However, if you have questions during the webinar, please add them to the Q&A feature and we will respond to you directly there. You should see it on your kind of bar, your Zoom bar, where it says Q&A feature and it has a chat box with a question mark in the middle. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Nayati and Abby to the screen to welcome you officially to our webinar.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to see you all here today. My name is Abby Smithwick. I am an admission counselor here at Agnes Scott. Generally, I work with students in Rockdale County, Henry County, Clayton County, and Fayette County here in Georgia, as well as students in Northeast Georgia, and then a few out-of-state territories and transfer students. But today I'm excited to speak to you all and welcome again.
And hello, everyone. My name is Nayati Shuler. I serve as one of the Associate Directors of Admission here at Agnes Scott. In my role, I work with students from Fulton County, right here in Georgia, as well as the states of Illinois and Arkansas. So, to give you an idea of what the next hour will look like, we will share insight about some of the hallmarks of the Agnes Scott experience, talk about some of the academic programs at Agnes Scott and the experiences that set us apart from other institutions. And then finally, we'll go through some of the highlights of the admission and financial aid process so that you all feel empowered to talk with your students about applying to Agnes Scott. But first, we'd like to start off with the best part of the Agnes Scott experience, which is our students. So I'll turn it back over to Abby.
Thank you, Nayata. All right, so as a college counselor, admission coach, or another part of the student support system, you play an important role in helping students find the college that is best fit for each of them. As the admission counselors connect with counselors and other supporters, we often get the question, what kind of students will find their fit at Agnes Scott? While some of our students are coming from all over the country and around the world, Agnes Scott students have several shared values. These include they are global citizens and change agents, excited to stir change in their local and global communities. They also want to engage with diverse, tight-knit communities. They seek out academic and professional success opportunities. At Agnes Scott, Agnes At Agnes Scott, academic and professional success go hand in hand. So through the summit experience, which we will discuss momentarily, students are equipped with the career competencies needed to explore and engage professional possibilities and achieve early career success across every major and a wide array of professional goals. And last but not least, our students are very smart. They relish intellectual stimulation, multidimensional learning, and educational opportunities inside and outside of the classroom. They are looking for a place where they will be academically challenged, but also supported. One way we support our students in pursuing these hands-on learning experiences is through our Summit program, which Nayata will tell you a little bit more about.
Thank you, Abby. So now that you all know a little more about our Scotties, as Abby mentioned, let's explore the elements that make the Agnes Scott experience so unique. As I share information with you about Summit, I would love for you to share in the chat what you already know about Summit, or let us know if you're already familiar with Summit. So overall, for 8 consecutive years, Agnes Scott College has been ranked as the #1 most innovative liberal arts college. And this recognition is due largely in part to our summit experience, which is Agnes Scott's signature approach to the liberal arts and science experience. So we know that to be leaders and change makers in this college space and beyond, students really need to experience elements of leadership development, global learning, and professional success throughout their collegiate journey. And so these are the 3 themes of Summit. Regardless of a Scotty's academic interests, students are going to get experiences inside and outside of the classroom in all of these themes. So first, let's begin with leadership development. At Agnes Scott, leadership development is all about students honing and developing their personal leadership style and understanding their own goals in a diverse and inclusive environment. As such, all students start their Agnes Scott journey with a leadership class called Leadership Prologue. And the Leadership Prologue courses are ultimately designed to assist students with exploring what it means for them to be leaders so they can start defining for themselves what it means for them to be a leader in the classroom and beyond. So one example of our fall 2025 Leadership Prologue courses, these are the courses that our current first year students are completing. One example is our ethical leadership course, which essentially explores leadership models that prioritize ethics, social responsibility, and community impact over profit-driven approaches. Through this course, students learn best practices for balancing ethical decision making along with effective leadership. I do want to note that we do have a list of our Leadership Prologue courses available on our website for you to explore as well. So in addition to leadership development, the global learning theme is about exploring and analyzing global challenges and finding solutions to real world problems. After students do some introspection their first semester of their first year, their second semester is all about thinking about the world around them, starting with their global journey experience. So in the spring of their first year, students take a class called Global Journey, taught on Agnes Scott's campus about a topic of globalization. Each of these topics are tied to a specific location, and they travel with their class, faculty, and a staff member for about a week before spring break to that location. The best part of this is that all of the costs of this experience is covered thanks to the generosity of our donors. So all of our students had this opportunity. One of the questions we received in the registration form is what support or opportunities are available to students who may come from a lower socioeconomic background. And I do want to touch on the fact that Summit in and of itself ensures that students, regardless of their background, have access to global learning and developing beyond the classroom. So that's just one note. So along with global learning, professional success, again, is also a theme of Summit, and it is a key part of the Agnes Scott journey throughout a student's 4 years. All students are provided with a personalized team of advisors, including a Summit advisor, peer advisor, faculty major advisor, and a career coach as well. So, one example of how students experience the professional success theme is through their SCALE experience. In their second year at Agnes Scott, students participate in SCALE, which stands for the Sophomore Class Atlanta Leadership Experience. This summit experience is a week-long externship at an Atlanta-based company or organization as well. Some of our partners for SCALE include the CDC, the Atlanta Legal Fund, Zoo Atlanta, as well as a host of nonprofits and performance groups and large corporations that call Atlanta home. Next, I'll turn it back over to Abby to further explore our campus community and our student body.
So as for our campus community, we like to say that we are small but a mighty campus. So what makes up this community? Our undergraduate student body is comprised of 840 students from 45 states and 11 countries. In terms of diversity, 62% of our students are students of color, and Agnes Scott does not have a racial or ethnic majority here on campus. This creates interesting conversations both inside and outside of the classroom, and it allows students to learn and hear stories from people who had various different experiences throughout their lives. Additionally, 32% of our students are first-generation college students, charting new paths and making their mark. And while there are many factors that makes our students different and unique, one commonality is their dedication to the Agnes Scott mission statement, which is to educate students to think deeply, live honorably, and engage the intellectual and social challenges of their times. Now that you've learned about who our students are, let's take a look at what they're studying.
Thank you, Abby. So, as a liberal arts college, we offer academic programs stemming from the natural sciences and mathematics, social sciences, humanities, the arts, and much more. At Agnes Scott, we offer about 30 majors and 28 minors. Listed in front of you is an overview of some of our top majors, which include business management, biology, creative arts, English, creative writing, international relations, neuroscience, psychology, and public health. The diverse interests and disciplines represented amongst our popular majors listed here further amplify the diversity amongst the liberal arts experience and express the variety of academic offerings at Agnes Scott. We encourage students to explore our various academic programs, but we also encourage you all to explore our website for more information about the academic programs that we have to offer. In addition to our majors and minors, we also offer 3 dual degree programs in partnership with 2 other Atlanta area institutions. That's Emory University and Georgia Tech. They are 3+2 programs in which a Scottie completes 3 years of study at Agnes Scott, pursuing studies within the liberal arts curriculum, and then completes the final 2 years at one of our partnering institutions in one of the respective programs. Again, we do have a computer science program as well as a nursing program in partnership with Emory, and then we also have engineering in partnership with Georgia Tech. The dual degree programs are great opportunities for students who have an interest in the liberal arts, but also want one of those 3 degree offerings as well. For our Scotties that want to continue on with their academics post-undergrad, Agnes Scott also offers a number of graduate programs, including our Masters of Art in Clinical Mental Health program. Upon completion of this program, students are qualified to take the required licensure exam to apply to become a licensed professional counselor as well. We also offer a few 4+1 partnerships as well as an early assurance program with Morehouse School of Medicine. So that's an overview of the academic experience. Now I will turn it back over to Abby to spotlight other aspects of the student experience.
Thank you, Nayati. So let's take a look at our campus life and life beyond the classroom, shifting gears a little bit. Agnes Scott boasts an active campus community located in Decatur, Georgia, a historic city with a small town feel located just 6 miles outside of downtown Atlanta. Atlanta offers students a vibrant arts and culture scene, sporting events, thriving commerce, and an international airport, all within minutes of our campus. Additionally, the city is home to a number of colleges. While students enjoy individual attention on our campus, they also have access to cross-registration and social events with neighboring colleges, including Emory, Georgia Tech, Georgia State, and more. Agnes Scott is also a residential campus. 80% of our students live on campus in our residence halls, and we offer a variety of options for on-campus living beyond a student's first year, including living learning communities. The living learning communities are intended for upper class students who have an interest in sustainability, service, or STEM fields. We offer 45 clubs and organizations highlighting academics, service, arts, spiritual life, special interests, and more. Additionally, we offer a host of campus recreation programs to enhance fitness and wellness. And these include yoga, archery, kickball tournaments, swim club, just to name a few. We're also home to 7 Division III athletic programs, including basketball, cross country, track and field, soccer, tennis, and volleyball. Another thing that you'll find our students focusing on here on campus is our internship and research opportunities. Approximately 88% of our students complete internships or mentor research projects, including opportunities to present at local and national conferences. Adding to their academic experience, Agnes Scott has also been recognized for its academic excellence, ranked number 8 for best undergraduate teaching in the country. And now I'll turn it back over to Nayati to highlight what Scotties go on to do beyond our campus while providing insight about the admission and financial aid process.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Abby. So overall, our women's college experience with Summit means that Scotties graduate from Agnes Scott with enhanced confidence, self-awareness, and the skills and experiences to make them competitive for the job market or for graduate school. When students live and learn in a community where innovation is the norm, they truly tend to go on to do some great things. So, to begin, on average, 95% of Scotties are employed or pursuing advanced degrees within 1 year of graduating from Agnes Scott. I also want to note that as a women's college graduate myself as well, I can speak to how women's colleges really ensure that students understand the value of lifelong learning and the value of preparing for the future during their collegiate journey as well. So, some examples of employers who hired recent Agnes Scott graduates include the Atlanta Dream WNBA team, Goldman Sachs, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, and much more. Additionally, our graduates often pursue advanced degrees at world renowned institutions, including Brown University, Georgia Tech, Johns Hopkins University, and more. In addition to being recognized for the ways in which innovation is infused within the Agnes Scott experience, our recognition as number 4 in top performers on social mobility really sheds a light on how Agnes Scott graduates are thriving in the job and graduate school markets, reflecting the college's commitment to providing professional support and career pathway introductions for every student, regardless of their interests and regardless of their backgrounds as well. And then last but certainly not least, Scotties are empowered to think deeply, live with purpose, and graduate ready to make an impact on the world. Recognitions such as the number 14 for Best Alumni Network and number 2 for making an impact really highlight these aspects of the Agnes Scott experience. Overall, these achievements that you see listed in front of you and external recognitions truly reflect the dedication of our faculty, staff, and alumni, and the strength of our community in preparing students for success from their first year to graduation and beyond. So you may be wondering, with all of this information about the Scotty experience, how your students can embark on their journeys as future Scotties. So now let's shift gears to further explore Agnes Scott through the admission process. So when it comes to our application and our admission process, it's important to first note that we are a member of the Common Application. That is the only way that we administer applications. We also take a holistic approach to the application and admission review process. There are several things that we are looking for amongst future Scotties, and our approach to that process helps us to find that mutual fit. In terms of a completed application file includes a student's high school transcript, the Common App essay addressing one of the prompts on the Common Application, and the Agnes Scott supplement. This is a list of specific questions that we ask in the Common App to further explore students' interests and overall their fit for Agnes Scott. I also want to note that for Agnes Scott, letters of recommendation are optional. However, while letters of recommendation are optional, the committee requires the submission of a school profile for a student's application as well. We also encourage students, if they have recommenders that are interested in writing letters on their behalf, advocating for them, and sharing a piece of their story, we encourage them to consider adding those as part of their application file. So all of these pieces, all of these credentials work together to give us a full picture of students and the readiness and fit for Agnes Scott. And again, we call this our holistic review process. This slide also highlights our fall 2025 admitted student profile. So every year we report our admitted student profile to guide our applicants. As you can see in front of you, of those students who are admitted for this fall, the average weighted GPA was a 3.61 weighted GPA. Of students who opted to submit test scores who were admitted, the middle 50th percentile range was an 1160 to a 1330, and the ACT middle 50th percentile was a 25 to a 31. This means that of the students who submitted scores who were admitted, 25% fell below that first number in the ranges, and 25% were above that last number that you see listed as well. While we do have test optional admission, we do encourage students to submit their scores if they fall within these ranges, because it speaks to their preparation for that standardized test, but it also may add additional information about what we see in their academic readiness for Agnes. And then lastly, we do now operate on a rolling decision notification process and are able to render admission decisions for students within 2 to 3 weeks after the completion of their application file, after we officially begin reviewing applications. So that's a little about the admission process. Now we will take a look at financial aid and affordability at Agnes Scott. So overall, Agnes Scott is consistently named a best value school, and it truly starts with our signature merit scholarship, which Abby will discuss in the next slide, and the college's overarching commitment to making our unique private college education accessible and affordable to our students as well. So displayed here are a few highlights of the financial aid process at Agnes Scott. I do want to first start with cost of attendance, which you see listed to the right. Our cost of attendance for the 2025 to 2026 academic year is listed here. That's a little over 66,000, so 66,707. This includes tuition fees, room, and board as well. I also want to note that the average cost of Agnes Scott's residential education after all grants are applied is about 25,000. Again, 100% of students at Agnes Scott receive merit-based aid, and the average scholarship and financial aid offer or package awarded by Agnes Scott annually to students is about $39,000. I also want to call your attention to the QR code. This QR code will allow you to further explore financial aid and affordability at Agnes. So speaking of resources, speaking of financial aid and how we invest in our students, Abby will now highlight additional financial aid resources available to students, beginning with our signature merit scholarship.
Right. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about this merit scholarship, which is our 100K plus promise. Students admitted to Agnes Scott for the fall of 2026 will receive a minimum renewable merit-based scholarship of $25,000 per year, with the opportunity to be considered for higher scholarships based on the strength of their application and academic performance. And you can see more information about specifics with that scholarship at the link in the chat. In addition to our 100K promise, the Campus Visit Award is also a very popular option for our students who are available to come visit campus sometime throughout the year. High school seniors applying for the fall of 2026 who attend a in-person campus visit, apply, and are admitted will receive the $2,000 a year Agnes Scott Campus Visit Award, which is a renewable grant of up to $8,000.
Wonderful. So I want to kind of talk about how we see partnering and student support and how that works for us across the desk. Um, After this, I am going to go to the Q&A section and kind of answer any lingering questions you all may have. So feel free to add them there and to give us more insight into things that you want to make sure we discuss before our webinar ends today. Abby talked a little bit about our campus visit grant and what we know about Agnes Scott and what we are clear about over the past few years is that our students fall in love with Agnes Scott when they are able to see our campus. And so while we don't offer financial support to fly students here, we do offer them a scholarship once they do visit of $2,000 that's renewable for 4 years. And that is really showing our commitment to, we acknowledge that it takes a lot to visit a college campus now, and we want you in our community and we want it to be affordable. So here's an opportunity to make that affordable. Essentially, too, for us to be a small liberal arts college, I think it's important for your students, as you know, to see what the community is like, how they support each other in a community, what the dynamic is. The uniqueness of visiting a place like Agnes Scott in Decatur is that we are our own community, our own oasis, and then right outside of our front door is downtown Decatur, a smaller city essentially that's nestled right under downtown Atlanta. It takes us about 10 to 15 minutes door to door to get to the outskirts of downtown Atlanta, and that is a huge plus for our student body and for our community. So really encouraging them to immerse themselves. If they're coming to visit Agnes Scott in the summer, I'm sorry, Atlanta in the summer, if they're passing through on the way to see a family member at the holidays, encouraging them to come and stop by so that they can see it for themselves. And as we know, these are college students, so sometimes on the weekends it can be a little sleepy, but that's okay. We want them to understand that that is a part of the collegiate process, that every day, all day, is not always the same, and that there is space for them to be who they need to be and who they want to be in our campus community. Reaching out to our admission team for updates on your student's application or to submit missing pieces. I know based on where you work, where you serve as a school or college counselor or as an IEC, that changes your ability to be accessible always or to be able to ask us where your students fall in the process. Where we're asking for is more so we want to help and we want to be a catalyst in helping you pull your students along to getting those applications completed. So there are times where we will reach out via email or phone call to kind of set up opportunities to make sure that we are getting those responses and getting those materials in. And we are hoping to do that to be of help to you so that you can check that off your list that that student has completed their application with Agnes Scott. One of the reasons, and I can say this now a year later, that we kind of transitioned to optional for the recommendation is that we noticed that many of our students were being kind of, that was the hang up for them in the application process. That the teacher recommendation, not that they weren't requesting it or that they weren't trying to get their application completed, but that we're all busy in education, no matter K through 12 or higher ed. Education is busy, busy work, and their teachers, amongst the many, many other things they were doing, were not able to complete the high demand of teacher recommendation requests. And so we made that optional to give the student kind of the autonomy to say, I really need this voice in my application, so I need to make sure my teacher completes this, or to say, I feel like my application speaks for itself, regardless of whether I have a recommendation or not. I'm okay with not having that voice in my application for Agnes Scott to review it. So a question we've been getting quite a bit is that changing the way we read now that we're making that optional? Is that changing the value of the recommendation now that we made it optional? And the answer to both of those questions is no. The recommendation still has an integral voice in our process. And if we receive it, we are going to read it and evaluate it and use that voice. And I think it still can't be undervalued what it says to have someone else advocating for you in your application process. However, we still are able to read students holistically and see them as a whole student beyond just their GPA and other things that they bring to the table when they do the application process and do not submit recommendations. And just as a reminder, I think Nayati said it earlier, but for counselors, we are just requiring the school report. Your recommendation is also a written recommendation is also optional as well. So just a reminder on that, we are test optional, we are recommendation optional, and we're doing that to provide easy access for our students to complete the application and trying to remove barriers from them getting an admission decision from us. And then last but not least, I think for those of you who are very familiar with us or have visited our campus before in the past, and you're attending today, which I really appreciate, to refamiliarize yourself with our campus and our admission process, you know that we've been very bold in how we talk about affordability. We don't shy away from the conversation of what it takes for a student to make Agnes Scott work. I have been in this industry for almost 15 years. Agnes Scott is the fourth university that I've worked for in admissions. And I will tell you that I think the way that we talk about financial aid and affordability is super honorable, and it brings so much integrity to students and families within this process. We know college is expensive. We can just call it what it is. College is an investment, and it is a family or supporter and student community decision. It is not an isolated decision. And so we really approach financial aid and affordability from that aspect. It is important to us that we are kind of calling that out, uplifting that conversation. And so this happens in quite a few ways. And I'm actually going to ask my team while I'm talking to drop some links from our affordability page in the chat, so that way you all can kind of browse those websites at your own opportunity. My team talked a lot about the different levels of how scholarshiping and financial aid works in terms of a student being admitted. They have access to the 100K promise. There's the campus visit grant. Then there's also special scholarships that we offer. But on our affordability website, we talk a lot about how is this seen as a 4-year decision, not just a first-year decision? How can Agnes Scott be a catalyst in having that conversation? And so for those of you who used to be an admission professional and remember this from back in the day, where we used to have one-on-one financial aid conversations with families and talk them through their financial aid package and how that works, well, that trend has not died at Agnes Scott. We are still doing that. And so FAFSA opens October 1st, which is next week. And we are a FAFSA only school. So we push for students to complete that so that we can see also what you're eligible for if you're an in-state student in Georgia, or if you have federal money that could help you close that gap. And so we are really communicative about what it means to complete the FAFSA. If you are a Georgia counselor and you have in-state students that you're working with, we also take Georgia Futures application as well, but those are the only two we take. So we are not CSS profile, no other means of affirming financial certification. And we do this because we want students to get access to everything that they have earned to close that gap outside of what Agnes Scott is awarding them. After they complete their FAFSA and the government releases that FAFSA to us to process, in early winter, we released their financial aid award letter, and that's what we call them. They used to be called packages. It's synonymous. And so we released this financial aid award letter that essentially breaks down everything that we have access to. And we will usually release the award letter even if they've been admitted and have not seen the FAFSA, because we're going to send a message that says, hey, this is what we know that we are promising you, but we're still missing your FAFSA so you can see what else. And once those award letters hit the mailbox, we mail them and we release them via email, because we want to make sure that parents and supporters have access to it as well. Our admission counselors and our financial aid advisors start making outreach to students and families directly to say, hey, I know you've done all this work. Now let me guide you through what the next 4 to 5 months is going to look like. We do that in winter because we know May 1 comes quickly, and there's a lot of decisions. There's a lot of other colleges that our students are considering. We also have a few appeal processes that we offer to students to try and see if there is more additional aid we can offer. And in order to do that, we need a FAFSA. We need that award letter to be accurate to know how to support students. So we are still a little old schooled in that way, where we're not leaving it to the computer to guide, or the net price calculator to guide a student through this process. This is a very human experience, and we understand that this is a human decision. And so that is why we are partnering with you and your student and their supporters to make sure that they know how this process should work and how we can help them figure it out. We also dropped in the chat our scholarships and financial aid link, but there is also a page we call outside scholarships. When companies, organizations, nonprofits come to us and say, hey, we have money for a student who might apply to Agnes Scott, we post them on our website so that students have easy access. They can see the deadlines. They are year-round scholarship deadlines. So for students who are adamant about attending Agnes Scott or a private university and knows that that gap needs to be closed, please share that website with them as a resource. We want to make sure that this is an affordable option. So I'm going to go to the Q&A. I don't see any questions so far. I've seen that we've been able to respond to most of them. If anyone has additional questions, I'll kind of just sit here for 30 seconds, and feel free to put them in the chat or the Q&A feature. But I do just want to reiterate how much we appreciate you taking 45 minutes to an hour out of your day to learn more about Agnes Scott and how to advocate us to your students. It is such a special place and a very rewarding place for our students and our graduates. And we would love for your students to visit and be a part of that. Okay. Yes, Claire asked, do we have a counselor who will be in Seattle this fall? And this is I'm going to talk about this really from a leadership perspective of counseling. So we are a Colleges That Change Live college. If you're not familiar with that, I'm going to ask my team to drop that link in the chat so that you all can familiarize yourself with that. Fun fact, we are the only women's college that is a CTCL school, and we are in the original set of College That Change Lives schools. So we actually visited Seattle this summer on the Colleges That Change Lives circuit and interacted with our students that way. We are a strong team of 10 that covers the entire United States and some international territories. And so it's just hard for us to get everywhere. But the beauty of 2025 is that we have Zoom and Google Meets and many ways to virtually connect with your students. So even though we can't always physically visit your schools and your students and your city, we would love to be able to have a virtual experience, if that is a culture in your counseling approach, to connect with interested students that you would like to introduce us to and have us talk to about Agnes Scott. So unfortunately, we are not coming back to Seattle until next summer, Claire, but we would be happy to connect for a virtual opportunity to connect with your students. And yes, Claire is right. We have the best fried chicken Wednesday on the planet. We are a true Southern University, but actually our fried chicken Wednesday recipe is a historic one. It was passed down for about 50 years now. And so Chef Mario, he's our main chef in our dining hall, absolutely fantastic. 2 years ago, one of our current Scotties, she would be a sophomore this year. Her dad is a restaurateur and sommelier. We had no idea that that was what he did professionally. They came for an admitted student day, and we had the fried chicken. He came up to me. He said, I've been a restaurateur for 25 years and I have never, he said, I grew up in Savannah. I have never had fried chicken that tastes like this before. Who is it? And so we had Chef Mario come out and they introduced, it was like such a big moment. And we had no idea that her dad was like in the restaurant business. So it is world famous. And if you come on a Wednesday, we will treat you to it in the dining hall. We also have fried fish Fridays, which is also a historic recipe. So we don't know what's in it, but we know it's good and the chicken's hot and fresh. So we're happy to share it. So yeah. Well, guys, thank you again so much for joining. This has been phenomenal. We will be in touch with you as we continue to travel, but also please reach out to us if you have questions. And we look forward to working with your students in the future. Take care.